Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. My voice is actually back for the most part. Anyway, folks, how are my people doing today? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Anyhow, the tariffs are on. The stock market is crashing. People are being laid off. It is amazing. And at the same time, I don't have the video ready. I couldn't get it ready in time. But you had the Treasury Secretary saying, a lot of jobs are coming to America effective today. And it's starting, and at the same time, Stellantis is laying off 900 people. Wow. Wow. The cognitive dissonance of this administration, but more than the cognitive dissonance, is that they believe their people are stupid, that they can see what's happening and disregard it and just listen to what the administration says. All right. Anyway, welcome aboard, my dear brothers and sisters. I just had it to break it open that way. Anyway, welcome aboard. We have first today in the house was AVQ El Senor Michael Rutnin from Brooklyn, New York. Second in the house was Patrick Magner, Meow from Houston, Texas. We also have in the house, para ver, Melanie Keelan, número 3 de Barcelona, Spain. And calling in, we have, or in as well, we have Bruce Pollard. Are you driving down Saturday? Bruce, I have a thing before a meeting at the Houston Peace and Justice Center. We are having a mixer. Let me know if you want to go to the mixer. I think you get a chance to meet Brother Patrick and Brother who else is going again? Ray is going as well, and who knows, maybe more. But and then if depending on how I feel, because I'm still recovering, I'll probably, if it's not over, figure out what's going on downtown at the 50501 at the city council. By the way, Neil Aquino, who does the Thursday shows with me consistently, he will be there covering for Politics Done Right. So everything is going to be covered. Both I'm supposed to be introducing Al Green, the Honorable Representative Al Green, on Saturday. I think he's still on the list as showing up at that event. Anyhow, so let me know if drop me a line or give me a call. Let me know if you're interested in any one of those, my brother. All right, let's see what else we got now. Joe from Bruce Pollard is from Kingwood, Atascocita. Last I knew, he was in Minnesota. Don't know if he's back or not. So you got to let me know if you're here or not. Oh, I imagine you're here if you're talking about Saturday. All right, Joanne in from Los Angeles, California. We got Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Edward Peña, mi hermano, de Houston, Texas. And Bridge MCP says, Egberto Willies, I laughed so hard last night. I even woke myself up laughing. Must have been dreaming it. Tariffs on uninhabited islands, seal and penguins. Seriously, I saw that. And since you brought it up to the screen, I'm just going to have to give everybody in the chat, or rather everybody that's watching and listening, the opportunity to see that. And guess what, folks? There it is. Unprecedented protests this morning on Heard and McDonald's Islands as the population rises up against Trump imposition of 10% across the board tariffs. Let me tell you something, guys. That tariff plan was slapped together real quickly, likely using Chat GPT. And what was so ironic, because nobody in the administration knew what was actually happening. When I talk about Comedy Central at the White House, that's what I'm talking about. We are run by a bunch of mediocre, incompetent clowns. That's who we are honored to represent us. And you know, I don't normally speak that way, but we are run by a bunch of incompetent, less than mediocre clowns. And in the interview that you see with Weems, which I'm going to play in a little bit, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, Lee the Beer Cat is in the house. He says, did the pandemic teach us anything about dependent on other countries on manufacturing supply chain? Yeah, but you don't change it the way Donald Trump is doing it right now. I've spoken about supply chain before. There are many ways to mitigate this. And remember, there's this magical thing called JIT, just in time inventory. When you have supply chains that are dependent on external sources, what you do is you create you get rid of JIT and you create a storage the storage in such a manner that you can mitigate disruptions by hurricanes, pandemics, etc. You don't do it by throwing a 25 to 30 or 40% to shock the world economy. That's not how you change over, Lee the Beer Cat. And that's what I talk about, having mediocrity in the White House. There are ways to mitigate the failure of capitalism, which was to break down into just-in-time inventory. We could have gotten all of that mitigated, Lee the Beer Cat. But you'll learn that as you spend more time listening to Politics Done Right, my dear brother. All right, Breach says I sound better. Well, coming from you, Breach, if you think I sound better, I'm feeling great. All right. We have E2247 is in the house. And by the way, Lee the Beer Cat is from Austin. E2247 in the house from all over. Yvette Avery Herod is in from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for being here, our resident UPS unionist that keep UPS on its toes. We also have Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. Eric Hayes is a resident crier for the corporation. He's in the house. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Rudden says there's an indoor-outdoor cat who lives across the street. Been feeding her on a regular basis for years. She's friendly, loves head pats, usually out early, but I didn't stay with her while she ate like I usually do. Oh, I feel so bad for that. All right, Edwards Pena says, so I have a question for you. I'm a third generation Tejano. I work in construction and I'm afraid of being approached by ICE. What documents should I have on me to protect myself? Well, let me see what you said. Where were you born? Let me see if did I miss that. I'm a third generation Tejano. So you were born here in Texas. You know, it doesn't hurt if you have a passport to have a passport that shows born in the United States. I have a United States passport, but it says born in Panama. So even me, I'm in danger. But Pena, if you have a passport, you're safe. But again, because your driver's license with the secure ID, not even that they're looking at right now. My driver's license have that. Let me cover that numbers up. My driver's license have my secure ID on it. Okay, so look, this is going to be some tough stuff. But even those of us that are naturalized American citizen, we have to be concerned. If I get stopped by a cop and they detect my accent, there's a good chance that they'll try to play some games with me, right? Because so far, there's no due process. But hey, what can I say? That is what we get in a fascist country, right? Our Lee Grant is in the house. He says from Montgomery County. He says, "What if you want to go to a protest, but your only car is a Tesla? Uh, then you go to the protest in your Tesla, and put a sign on your Tesla that said, I hate Teslas, but this is the only thing I have right now." Or put something like, "This was before he went bad." Something like that. Something funny. It'll probably protect the car from vandalism. "Please don't harm my car. I am a progressive, and I believe that Elon Musk is bat, you know what, crazy." Jay Ray from Houston, Texas is in the house. He says, "I'm roaring." Welcome, Jay. All right, continuing. Joanne says, "Oh no, do you think they're skinning the seals and selling the fur?" No, no, no. This is just incompetence. Whoever did the Chat GPT did not realize that it was an unpopulated piece of land. Again, they just use Chat GPT for geography. That's all. All right. Michael Rudden says BRC country, or let's see, BBC 60 countries will be hit with higher rates of up to 50%, including Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Bangladesh. Countries in the European Union from face a 20% tariff. The tariffs are set to take effect in days. Here's the funny part. America encouraged companies. This is funny. You can't make this stuff up. America encouraged companies to move from China to Vietnam, to move from China to Thailand and these places, right? And now that these companies invested in retooling for these companies, now America says, "Oh, but we're putting a tariff higher on you than we did on China." It is mind boggling, the stupidity that comes out of the White House, who knows no history, right? Why should anybody believe anything that we have? We signed the NAFTA 2. What is it called? The MCA or whatever it's called. All right. And we just tear the treaty up and apply tariffs to Mexico and Canada. We have a treaty. And to hell with the treaty. We had a treaty with Iran. Tear it up. To hell with the treaty with Iran. I mean, people don't understand that if treaties don't matter anymore, when America signs a treaty, it doesn't matter if America tears a treaty up they signed. But if you sign a treaty with them, they want you to live by that treaty. But it's the thing about it is none of this should surprise us. Ask the Cherokees with the Black Hills. The Black Hills was their land. They signed a treaty. And when Americans found gold, what did they do? They got rid of they broke the treaty. So think about it, folks. This is nothing new. We never keep treaties. We are just always bullies. My dear brother Ray Brackens, talk to me.
I find it quite ironic that as soon as this happened, there was I think it was Don Lemon who kind of highlighted that, you know, they warned about the possible implications of this, and some prominent figures like none other than the progressive stalwart, sarcastically speaking, Ronald Reagan
Yeah,
said this was a horrible idea. Oh, and another person that is really loved by the left, George W. Bush, said
yeah,
that this was a horrible idea. These two men were the standard bearers of the so-called Republican Party, and by the measure of history, they were horrible presidents, but at least they had enough sense to know that that was a horrible idea. And it's like,
yeah,
you know, I, I was listening to Chris Cuomo talk about, y'all need to get out of crazy town and think that everything that Trump does is above the law and that he can get away with anything. Well, look, Mr. Cuomo, with all due respect, you have the privilege to be able to sit here with your tight muscle shirts on and spit out all this, like there's some people out here that are really suffering that really can see the consequences of what this man is doing. And when you look at it from uh, a neoliberal media lens, of course, we all look crazy because we have seen what this man has done, and we know he's capable of doing more. Now, hopefully, Mr. Cuomo is right that he is gonna that the institutions and the systems that did keep him from going above the fray are strong, but that net is is surely enough tearing away at the seams.
You're absolutely right. And what we listen, Chris Cuomo has turned into a complete disappointment. I don't know what I think he's trying to build a new audience. I mean, let me tell you something. I and look, and this is what gets me with a lot of these guys that get recognition, right? These guys go out there and they'll do what it takes, like Bill Maher, to try to reach a new audience. They'll change their
Well,
values, right? I mean, I
that's that
can't.
guy.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I sometimes I look at personally on politics done right. I could change my politics done right audience and make a killing. I'm struggling right now. I could make a killing with politics done right by just going against my values. I mean, it's open season for people of color who wants to go against the values of progressivism. They want
Yeah,
them
like
on
Cenk
their
Uygur.
side. Yeah, look at well, he just got rid of what's her name, and she
Yeah,
did
and
a
I
whole
liked her,
yeah
Francesca Fiorentini. She was another. I
right.
mean, because now they butt heads. She's no longer welcome on the show, and then
He
he wants to put it like she left. No, she
no.
said that was a lie.
Yeah, Francesca came and she did a video, and he dumped Francesca, and she went ahead and did the video and said, you know what? And this is what happened. Too many progressive people in this movement have tried to go ahead and change their values. And what happens is that the following that they have would have a tendency then to steril, to attenuate their values because the person that they had trust in did it. I can't do that. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't accept that. Hey, but I got a 28-minute video I got to play, bro. So let
Yeah,
I'll
I
see.
got a closer for you.
Close it for
I
me.
got a quick closer. So yeah, we got a saying where I come from. We call that you faker than $1 trillion bill, and you not being real at all. Thank
There
you.
you go. Thank you, my brother. Have a good one. All right, folks, I got this video, but I saw that Bridge wanted something on the screen. Let me see if I can get that onto the screen first before we go to the video, just to make sure I don't miss it. And here we go, Bridge. This is all for you, girl. There we go on the screen. Welcome to another edition of what I'm going to start calling the Weems Show, Willie Show on
W
Egberto
squared.
Record or Politics and Right. Hey, Mr. Marlon Weems, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. As I said earlier, this is getting into my wheelhouse. So, unfortunately, on the bad side, in terms of what I kind of know a little bit about.
Let me first kind of preface it this way. Marlon Weems was formerly a stockbroker, a money manager, all those big things that you hear in Wall Street, the things that these guys like to pass off as they are special about doing, Marlon did it. So he understands all that's going on right now. Marlon, first of all, why did Donald Trump somehow believe that he could do what he's doing with tariffs and it wasn't going to have this explosive effect on the stock market? And it's not just today. This decline has been precipitous from the time people had a feeling that this was going to be real.
Exactly. Let me clarify. I wasn't a stockbroker per se. What I did was I headed up when I was working in New York. I headed up an algorithmic trading desk. Some people call it program trading, quantitative, whatever. And so my clients were people like state pension funds, the big California funds, but also corporate clients like Microsoft, Walmart, and the like. I used to manage buyback programs for guys like that. So, a pretty big cross section of like what I would call global market participants, right? Now, to answer your question, Egberto, scholars are going to be asking, trying to figure that out probably for decades, because none of this makes any kind of sense unless you're in like a delusional bubble, like people, mega centric people tend to be in look, we all have our bubbles that we're in, this being one of them, but some bubbles have better information or more reality in them than others. And these people are operating in a world where up is down and left is right, and nothing makes sense. And then what happens is they convince themselves that they know what they're doing, and now what you're seeing is they've stepped out into the real world, and this is the FAFO stage of what's going on.
Sadly, these are people that are less than mediocre. The entire from Trump right down to his administration, these are people that are less than mediocre. In order to cover that, they in an infantile manner try to make themselves believe that some of their problems was caused by diversity, equity, and inclusion, not realizing that they are the result of us not having a strong implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that kind of mediocrity or below mediocrity could only exist if all the participants in our country were not given that opportunity to actually excel. Now, what we have are, you mentioned something there, Marlon, that is so important. You said they have started to believe what they speak. And given that what they spoke was nonsense, implementing nonsense, did you see the formula that they used to come up with
Man,
the tariff on a per country basis? It is
yeah.
important for Americans to understand the ineptitude, the lack of seriousness that we are looking at in this entire process.
It is when I ran across that this morning, and it appears that somebody just dropped this in the chat by GPT, and it's. I told my wife this morning. I started off by saying this is a bunch of C-level students, and I actually stopped myself because the C-level student is still that's a passing grade. These
I am
guys are
sorry,
not
this
C,
is
these are
C-level
not C-level students we're dealing with. And what is so surprising to me is I listened to the Treasury Secretary Bissett. I listened to his just right after Trump, did his Rose Garden news conference. And this is a guy that knows better.
Right.
And you could just see him trying to massage around the reality he was saying the economy is solid, which runs counter to what Trump and everybody else on his team has been saying for the last 2 years. He continued by saying, well, the reason the Mag 7 stocks are going down is really because of DeepSeek, this AI system, out of China that surprised everybody. But that was what, a month ago. Okay. Well, how do you explain today? And the reason the tech sector it seems to be a surprise to them, but where do they think all these chips are coming from? Where do they think all the technology comes from that guys in the tech sector are using? It's baffling to me. I really um, and look, I disagreed from word go on the whole idea of tariffs, but I don't think anyone expected something just this off the chain. When you're talking about what 50% tariffs on China, I mean, what do they think these countries are going to do? I'm hearing a lot of this morning. I'm hearing a lot of, well, this will bring folks to the table, and this will, maybe we'll cut a deal with the EU. Maybe we'll do this. This is not. This is like breaking into somebody's house and ransacking it, and then coming back saying, can we be friends?
Well,
It just doesn't work that way.
I want to point out that there are two thoughts in the White House. One is that because Donald Trump needs to raise a whole lot of money for reconciliation, and it has to be done within the budgetary process, not
Right?
creating new laws. that the only way that can be done is by deep cuts to Medicare or Medicaid, deep, and finding some other source of revenue, meaning cutting a lot of other things off. Here's the kicker. They figured, and this is where you talk about C-level thinking. Not even a C-level person thinks this way. This is where they believed that, well, you know what? If this tariffs work, even if we're not going to hold on to it, if just for the budgetary process, we have tariffs on for 4 months going, that we are going to give the impression that if assuming these tariffs stays at this level and assuming the purchasing stays at this level, that we will bring in X amount of dollars into the treasury. And bringing in X amount of dollars in the treasury and multiplying that over time, that gives them the legal realm under the where cloture is not needed for what they need to do in the Senate, which gives them this big budgetary tax cut that they're looking for, even if it's going to blow up in their face, even if after 4 or 5 months they say, okay, to hell with the tariffs. But the law is already in the books, you know? So there's a whole lot of trickery that is going on here. And you putting tariffs on today can make the numbers look better because you're not going to say, I'm taking the tariffs off in 5 or 6 months. But the next thought process that's in the White House is that, wait a minute, if we coerce the foreign countries into not retaliating severely on these tariffs, this is a new way of funding our government, like back in 19 whatever on tariffs.
Well, that's why he's saying he wants to get rid of the income tax.
Here you go. Here you go. But the truth of the matter is when you look at the amount we collect in taxes versus the tariff rate that you would require based on the total amount of products that we import,
right?
It's 25% of our budget. So it's...
But you're using math, though, Egberto. They're not using like real, you know, remember we were kids, they had that new math. Well, this is the new math because it's not even adding up. Okay, so let's just say, and it was really interesting because Bissett actually kind of went down that road yesterday, but it's so, man, it's just so transparent to somebody like me that just watches this stuff.
Right.
He was talking about, you know, the money that they were going to raise and talking about the reconciliation package. And he talked about every aspect of that reconciliation package except the tax cut. He never mentioned the words tax and cut. Okay. And I'm sitting there listening to this guy, and it was hard for him because he, from what I can tell, is a traditional Wall Street investment guy. And he's now sucked into this world of suspended disbelief where, you know, you got dragons and dinosaurs at the same time on Earth and all, you know, and man riding on dinosaurs, you know, just crazy stuff, right? So he was talking about this, but the numbers don't add up. We're talking about a $5 trillion tax cut minimum. You got Doge over here. What are they saying they've raised so far? Well, first of all, they don't even, we don't know the math. They won't show their work, right? So I think maybe they've raised $1 trillion, if you believe them. If you believe them.
Please, don't put that into the ethos.
I'm just saying that's what they're saying they've done.
But the reality, it is under 25 billion total.
No, it's nothing. It's not much of anything. And so the math doesn't work. I don't even know how much you would have to, you know, what level of tariff it would take to offset. Now, keep in mind though, I haven't seen this package that I guess it's with the Senate now. But what I do know was the House Budget Committee, a couple of months ago, had that wish list that had everything on it, like, you know, just possibilities of things they could cut to get to where they needed to be. And that included mortgage interest, okay? You know, of course, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of these things. So it's smoke and mirrors, man. It's just smoke and mirrors.
This is something that, I think Americans need to understand this. This is not, you notice when you said the Treasury Secretary spoke about how the reconciliation was going to work. And the one thing he didn't talk about was the tax cuts.
Right.
The other thing he didn't talk about was who is paying for
Right.
these tariffs. And for
Yes.
all the MAGA folks that are listening to us right now, the MAGA folks are paying as a percentage more for these tariffs than anybody else. The
Indeed.
red states are going to pay more in tariffs than the blue states. The poor people, as a percentage, will pay more in tariffs than the wealthy people or the middle class. I want them to take a look and go to Walmart, because Walmart is filled up with things from China, which is now at 34% tariff. Go to Walmart and turn made in where? In every single product at Walmart, because that's where you shop. MAGA folks, go check it out. And now all those products will have an increase in price passed on to you because your Führer has posted a 34% tariff on China. China isn't paying that. The corporation's going to pay that and pass it right back to you. Because guess what? Even that 34% margin is not enough for these guys to cover. So your Führer can tell you anything, but you're going to pay the price. Marlon.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cynical, because if you think about it, the tariff is essentially a tax on everything that you buy.
Right.
I'm already seeing Hyundai and various car makers saying they're going to be raising. They're already raising prices. Your
Right.
$1,000 iPhone is now a $1,500 iPhone. That's why today, and this was a couple of hours ago, Apple had lost something in the neighborhood of $300 billion in market value, because where are those iPhones getting assembled and made? They're either Vietnam, Thailand, places like that. That's why you're seeing Lululemon. So you buying some yoga pants? Guess what? They're going up. I mean, these are the countries that really got. It's China, Vietnam, Thailand. They got hit with some significant
But yes,
tariffs in terms of the percentage. So nobody escapes. But what's so cynical about it to me is that you're taxing people who are buying everyday goods to pay for a tax cut for people who do not need it.
thank you.
That
And that,
that is just
as much as you're saying that, what irks me the most is it takes those of us doing independent journalism on Substack or on other platforms
right.
to hammer that message in, that the people that are paying the price for this, they'll say, oh, everybody's going to pay for it. But the ones that it hurt the most are those people who are, again, those everyday MAGA folks that
Well, I
are.
mean, let's just face it. I'm not to interrupt, but you're talking about the people who are going to get the tax cut are the what 1%,
Right.
right? Let's just, I mean, the 1%. It's not going to hurt them. First of all, they've already got all this stuff.
Right.
They've already got all these things, and they aren't going to feel a a price. If eggs double in price, it's not going to affect them in the way that it's going to affect me and you. In fact, I was reading it. Someone was doing a calculation yesterday, because you hear about Elon Musk and this Wisconsin race. I think he dumped 26 million dollars in there, and someone just basically said, "Look, for a man who's worth $350 billion to blow off, 25 million, that's like that is less than me buying you a cup of coffee from Starbucks."
Absolutely.
That's the impact to his balance sheet. So they're cool with this. Of course they are. It's not really going to affect them in the same way. And if that's what it takes to get them that tax cut that's going to last for 10 years, they are more than willing to throw us all under the bus.
And sadly, the biggest problem we have is both ignorance and willful ignorance of many. Those guys at the top, they know what they're doing. That's why Bezos is sucking on the, you know what? That's why all the billionaires, look, I try to explain to folks that the middle class, the working class, we are on our own. We have to realize we're on our own. because you don't. There are a lot of good. There we like to come under the impression and belief that there are good billionaires out there. We like to believe that. We like to believe that there are wealthy people over there that they have a conscience and they have empathy. And I don't know where you stand on this, but I have a different value set that has proven that a fallacy to me. Let me give an example. All these powerful billionaires we know throughout this country that always give to George Soros or that George, like George Soros and Oprah and all these other folks that have big money, they know deep in their hearts, they know what's happening to the working class when these things pass. One would think that these are people that would look for all these progressive organizations out there that are fighting for the working class, fighting for the middle class. And they're going to say, let me invest in you guys educating people. Let me invest in you guys letting folks know what's going on. They're not doing that. In fact, what you hear from them are crickets. Because again, there are two classes in this country, the ones that set prices and the others that are, what I call the pathway to indentured servitude. And until we educate us all on this issue, the market dynamics, all of this that I personally consider a fraud, is going to remain the same. And what Donald Trump is doing, he can only do that because we've consented to him doing that.
So here's where I come down on the concept of billionaires. I mean, better or worse, we live in a capitalistic construct. I think it's I liken it to a cancer cell, that's gone out of control, right? It doesn't have to be like this, and we know that because we can look at Denmark, we can look at other countries that are also capitalist countries, in terms of their model, and they don't have these problems that we have. They look at us and they're wondering what the hell. I mean, so having been in finance during the time that I was in that business for 30 odd years, I have been around a few billionaires. So I'll give you a comparison. And I'm not going to say one's better than the other, but I would say what we're seeing right now, Egberto, to me, is a different type of billionaire that is different than, let's say, the Vanderbilts, the guys in the Gilded Age. And what I would say, the Rockefellers even, they at least had enough of a conscience to be concerned about their legacy. So that's why you see all these libraries and all these, these monuments to their wealth that they at least wanted us to think highly of them. These guys do not care.
Right.
And I'm not saying one is better. I guess I am. I'm saying that type of billionaire, if we got to have them, is better than what we have now, is guys that apparently have not only an insatiable desire for more, but also they don't believe in democracy. They do not believe, you hit on the word, and I used this 2 or 3 years ago, and folks thought I was being a little hyperbolic. I wrote something, and I think the title of it was, Welcome to Your New Feudal Lords. And I was talking about the fact that billionaires and private equity, and this was like, I think in 2021, maybe, were buying up all the land, buying up all the real estate. I was looking at, Atlanta. At one point, one private equity firm owned something like 10% of all the houses in Atlanta. So these are different kind of guys. And I don't think we were prepared structurally for people not only to just accumulate just gross amounts of wealth, but also for them to be dangerous in the way that you see in Elon Musk. None of the founding fathers could have conceived that the House would just abdicate and allow the richest person on the planet to get all up inside Social Security. That's just, if someone would have told you this 3 years ago, that's like Black Mirror kind of stuff.
The story about the good cop and the bad cop.
They still both cops, though.
in my dealing with cops, I don't follow the good cop, bad cop thing, right? Because I think The good cop who knows about the bad cop and does nothing about it is a bad cop. Which means the billionaire who understands what the Elon Musk is doing, who understand what all these guys are doing, they are, in order to maintain, well, and the thing about it is they don't even have to, I think there is an intrinsic fear by billionaires of the working class.
No question.
And I think justifiably so, because I know you're a finance guy. I'm not. I'm just a lowly engineer.
Come on, man.
That's it.
Listen, man, my son is in school right now, majoring in computer engineering. I won't go near his homework.
Well, tell your son I love your son to death, okay? But what I'm saying is, believe in his numbers. And I've always been of the belief that if the working class realize the scam that our system many times is, the working class would rise up. And as I don't remember the name of the billionaire who came out and said, we better do things better because the pitchforks are coming up.
Let me tell you a story in that regard. This was one of the early pieces that I wrote about just the plutocracy, right? So when I was working in New York, running a trading desk, Citigroup published a piece of research. It was actually part of a series that they sent out to all their high net worth clients, and it was specifically on how to exploit income inequality.
Right.
For a long time, you couldn't find this because at some point they realized, oh, wait a minute, this is not really good. and so I actually have the research. I've had it for years. And, they talk about, all the different companies that are going to benefit. And here's the strategy. And some of the language is so just offensive. I don't mean like curse word offense. I mean, just like the way they're talking about the people on the opposite side of the inequality equation. But one thing that they do in all of these kinds of reports, they always have a section on risk. What are the risks to, that would disrupt this approach? And the one that always stuck with me, to your pitchfork analogy, and it's worded, I'm going to try to quote it. It's something like this. One of the biggest risks to this strategy is the fact that there is still one person, one vote. And at some point, those people, those other folks that don't have, are going to realize that there's way more of them than us. And they may very well basically bring us to heel.
Michael Moore put that particular.
He did. He sure did.
His movie about healthcare.
That's right. He sure did.
It was,
man. I got to tell you, when, like I said, I remember the day that we were all sitting on a trading desk, and I didn't run a gigantic desk. There were maybe a half dozen of us, including me, and then some, assistants and so on. And when one of my traders found that, and he said, man, look at what these guys at Citigroup are saying. Can you believe? I mean, it shocked us. And we were in that business because it was so just blatant in terms of the way they viewed the misfortune of everybody else.
And that is how being a billionaire corrupts your thinking. It's funny because...
So I want to make clear, I'm not defending billionaires. I'm acknowledging that they exist.
Right.
And so I just kind of look at it. I don't look at LeBron James or Michael Jordan, who got to be billionaires, and we know how they became billionaires. I just don't look at them the same way as I look at Elon Musk.
But
that may be right or wrong. I'm just saying.
Let me just say this. I think it's incumbent on them, especially because of how they came to their fortune,
to prove to us that they deserve what they have.
From all those billionaires right now, that is not who we are. That is not who we are. Oprah is silent. All of them are silent. This is not the time to be silent. But Nixon,
it's not.
Yeah, Nixon was interesting. Everybody credits Nixon's with Medicare and all this kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
And it turns out that the only reason Nixon bit on some of the social programs he supported was to find out that these managed care private sector institutes or organizations, the way they made sure to ensure a profit was to give less service. And when he said, I have the tape that Michael Moore has on one of his movies, and in fact, I may play it today. When I'm telling you the depravity in the capitalist market, for the people on the real top, the depravity there that very few people know about is sad. But Marlon, we are coming on our time slot here.
It always goes so fast when I'm with you,
I
Egberto.
know, man, but we have great conversation. What and you're the expert here. What do we do?
I think we have to do what we're doing because the audience that we're talking to, one thing that's happening that's interesting to me is this disruption in legacy media. And you look at what MSNBC did, what a few weeks ago, where they just let go all these, Joy Reid and all these people. Well, those people are now coming to places like Substack, and that's where I am. So, of course, Joy Reid, Don Lemon, um, Jim Acosta, all of these people now are on Substack. Paul Krugman, and they suck up a lot of oxygen, but they also bring their audience with them.
Right.
My hope is if we keep doing what we're doing, eventually people will start to notice, hey, whoa, those are some different voices that I hadn't heard before.
And what's
And
great is they have brought voices, they have enhanced our
sure,
voice, the voices of Dr. Weems, the voices of Egberto off the record. They've enhanced our voices because as I look at our stats, I'm like, oh, that
well,
came
that's
from,
what I mean. I'm
yeah,
starting to see it's not a surge, but it's certainly, just before I got on today, I noticed I had a message from Substack that I'm now in the top 100 rising, whatever in the business category. So, I mean, I've been on Substack 5 years, and that's just so I just sort of look at the cause and effect. I think to an extent, while they are certainly taking in a lot of the revenue that we hoped we could get, they're sort of helping to put us on the map too. And I
yeah.
think if we just keep working hard, people will start to notice.
And I think that is so important. But anyway, to my brother Marlon Weems, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. We all learn a lot whenever you're among us. So thank you so kindly for having been here on Egberto Off the Record,
Thanks
part
for
of
having me.
Sunrise. Thank you, my brother.
All right. See you next time.
I don't know what happened. Every now and then it does that. But anyhow, I want to read from Mary Williams. She says, I don't think Oprah knows about this stuff. And in effect, our good friend Mary Williams is saying that Oprah is not like Trump or Elon, etc. I agree. She's not like them. Neither is LeBron. Neither is any one of these guys. But there's a commonality that runs between all billionaires. And that is when they get to that spot they do all that they can to not only to hold on to that, but to maximize it and keep growing on it. It's sort of like a cancer. Now I know a lot to some that comes across like wealth envy. It isn't. It is just that the billionaire. I want you to look at every single person that is a billionaire. Look at every single one of them, and then look at the hardest working doctor, engineer, or teacher that you know. I want you to put that picture in your head. Look at that billionaire, Oprah, and let's say LeBron, and then look at that teacher that students go through his or her classrooms every day, and she manufactures many LeBrons, she manufactures many Oprahs, she manufactures many Egberto Willies. Think about that. All right. And when you think about that, ask yourself the question. Hold on a second, Harry. And when you think about that,
Yeah.
I want you guys to say this: why is Oprah worth a billion or several billions when that teacher that was the genesis of many Oprahs, many Bill Gates, aren't? I want you guys to really start doing some critical thinking, because critical thinking would point out that it's not about meritocracy. It's about being invited into the club. If you're invited into the club, you can become a billionaire, but you have to be invited. Go ahead. You got a minute, Harry. Talk to me, my dear brother.
Okay, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad the Mucinex helped you and those other potions have helped you. But anyway, I liked that video that you said with Martin Wing that you had with Martin Weems that you just finished
Yes.
playing. All of it makes a lot of sense. Um, Now I was listening to Professor Richard Wolf this morning on Democracy Now! After your show went off, and he just summed it up that what people are going to do, they're going to buy less with these tariffs that are that Trump just signed, and then he just thinks he can bully these countries to just set up shop here. And and my friend from Florida, who I was talking to earlier, is just living and hoping, and that's what's going to happen. And I just don't think that is going to happen.
No, there's no.
Like Richard Wolff.
Harry, you nailed it. There is no reason for manufacturer in to come back to the United States at the look.
Yes,
What we need to do in the United States is subsidize certain manufacturers. People don't like to hear that,
yes,
but for our national security, we need to subsidize some different industries to make sure we do make some things here. But then, according
yes,
to capitalism, you go to the places where it can make those things more efficiently. But that's for another
right.
time. But we're at
Where's
56,
Trump's
Harry, and
job bill?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
where's Trump's job bill? Yeah, where's Donald Trump's job bill? Joe
It
Biden
never,
had a job bill
it never was,
with
never
Build Back
was,
Better. Unfortunately, they didn't pass it, and they got Inflation Reduction Act.
never
He
was.
doesn't have a job. He's
We'll
just
talk
trying
later.
to bully
Harry,
these
we gotta
other
go.
people into create
Harry,
jobs. Okay,
brother,
I'll
we
call
gotta
you
go.
tomorrow. I'll call you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
brother.
All right.
Have a good
Bye.
one.
Bye.
All right, folks. Look,
You too.
thank you guys. Great. Thank you guys for listening, and watching the program. Please remember to share it. But I just want to end on my friend Mary Williams, because I think it's important for can y'all hear that? Okay, I fixed that. I think it's important that we start to think ahead and not buy the Kool-Aid about billionaires, etc. We have to be our own saviors. We have to be our own protectors. We have to be the ones who go out there and say we are deserving. And we don't want to be invited into a select club that allows us to be billionaires or etc. We want to do it on our merits. America is not a meritocracy. It is not. It is who gets invited into the game. Anyway, folks, I trust that you will support our program. To do so, please consider going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Become a paid subscriber, and there's a whole lot that we offer with that. What I want to do is I want to give you a direct link to Substack, to the about. Oh, thank you, Bridge. Please ignore MAGA peeps. They love a reply, but it annoys the rest of us. Exactly. I do. I ignore most of the times, except if it's something that they can contribute to further the cause. But thank you for your super chat, Bridge. Love you, girl. But what I want to do now, folks, is I want you uh, let me give you what the advantages are of becoming a paid subscriber of Politics Done Right's newsletter, Egberto Off the Record. And I have it in the About section. I went ahead and pointed out the about section. It's a whole great bunch of stuff that you get from being a paid supporter of our newsletter. So please consider doing that, because it is worth it. It is worth it, and it is worth it. Anyway, I got to get out of here, guys. It is 3:59. It's going to be 4 in a minute. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Please remember to share not only our programs or videos or audios, please share our newsletter as well and become a part of the family. We are going to be the change that we know that we need. Anyway, my name is, love you all. My name is Egberto. Beforehand, one other thing. If you want to talk to me directly by email, send it to info@politicsdoneright.com. Info@politicsdoneright.com. To subscribe to the newsletter, go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And I have inside of the about what the deals and stuff with our newsletter. All right. Love you all. This is Egberto Willies. My name is Egberto Willies. It's Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.